Well, hello and happy Friday to all of you, Facebook community. I am delighted to be once again connecting with you through the magic of technology. And Alejandro Tornato here, coming directly from overcast and rainy Beaufort today. But it doesn't matter. I said it many times before. It doesn't matter what happens outside. It could be pouring. It could be windy. But what matters is what's inside, and what's inside is always awesome, beautiful, wonderful, fantastic. And I want you to be as enthusiastic and passionate as I am, because today we are having a great session of Alejandro and Bob Unplugged. I want you to remember one thing. The unplugged revolution, the unplugged movement is finally here and is here to stay. And I said that because I want to bring into the picture to just keep me company, because I don't want to do this by myself. It's not good to be alone. It's better to be in the company of someone who can raise and elevate my level to a few notches up, and bring me up to a higher frequency. And I'm talking about none other than my friend and colleague, Bob DiGiacomo. So here he is. And today he is still afloat.
With everything that's been going on, you don't know, you just don't understand, because we've had rain, we've had wind. I've been bailing water. I haven't even been able to shave. Things have been so rough and tough. And I even started to sing that classic song. The weather started getting rough. The tiny ship was tossed. If not for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost. My God, to be adrift on a boat for so long, I'm just wondering if I'm ever going to get there.
Well, and that is exactly what we are going to be discussing today. And let me just put it this way. It doesn't matter in what ocean you might be navigating right now, but stay on the ship or stay on the boat, whether it is a small boat or a big ship, and we will get you to the other side. So stay on the ship and we will get you definitely to the other side. Is that correct, Bob?
That's absolutely correct, 100%. But I do want to just point out a small little point there. When we say we're going to get you to the other side, it doesn't mean we're taking you to we might be taking you to the promised land, but we're not taking you to that higher place that we get called to at a certain point in our life. So we will not take you to that side, but we will get you to the other side. And by the way, just as an alert here, when you say the unplugged thing is arrived, sometimes when you plug yourself into the wall, you can get electrocuted. So it's good to stay unplugged.
That's exactly right. Yes. And when we talk about, you see, this is a great illustration, because we are all navigating in the ocean of life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go too philosophically deep into something, but today I think it's appropriate. Let's think of life, of your life, of Bob's life, of my life. Let's think of it as a vast, infinite ocean. Okay? And we are all navigating that ocean. Now, in that ocean, in that journey, there are going to be times that the waters are very calm and very smooth. and you're going to be sailing and navigating in a very comfortable way. And other times, the waters are going to be very choppy and very
Mhm.
rough. And is navigation is going to be very challenging and difficult. And guess what? For the past several weeks, we have been navigating choppy waters. No matter where you are in the world, we are going through choppy waters. However, we have we have two options. Either we can get off the boat, and I don't know where you're going to do. I mean, if you get off the boat, if you don't know how to swim, you're going to drown. Or you can stay on the boat and get to the other side. And Bob is going to tell us what that analogy really means. Staying on the boat, getting off the boat, what are the pros, what are the cons? So Bob, I mean, just enlighten us.
Well, in today's awareness of where we are, because again, I've been around for 2 centuries. I think you've been around for 2 centuries. Some of the people on this call have not been around for 2 centuries. But I need to go back in time to the age of exploration,
Mhm.
when the belief was that the world was flat. And these seafaring people never ventured farther than they could see the shore, because it always gave the impression that you were going to fall off.
That's right.
And then what happened was that some very brave individuals, and I know in today's discussion, we have to be politically correct because, oh my gosh, God forbid we talk about some of these explorers and all the hardships that occurred when they got to the other side. And I'm referring to the indigenous peoples that they stumbled across.
That's
But
right.
had they not gotten on the boat in the first place, they would never have gotten to the other side. But I'm going to use Columbus as an example. He sailed in the belief that he had that if he sailed that way, he would eventually get that way. Because the world, in the wanton of an Italian accent, the world, she know a flat, she's around. And he sailed and he sailed, and the crew was getting like uptight.
Yeah.
Because they were days and days without seeing land. They had to go on faith. But if there was not a captain standing on the I'm going to call it the bridge.
Mhm.
I don't know what they called it in an old sailing vessel, but there was not a captain standing there exuding that aura of confidence, even if he was scared to death. He didn't let the others see it. And he just said, and just like we say, 3 more feet, 3 more feet, 3 more feet, they got to the other side.
Yeah.
And we always have that story that we tell that it's a good thing that the holes in the boat are on the other side.
That's exactly right. Yes. Yes. We are all in the same boat, but the holes are towards that end, on the
On
far
on
end, and
on their side.
that's right, and it will not affect me. But you mentioned something that is very important. I think is very critical, because I think that you have heard and I have heard the expression that most people use, and is seeing is believing.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing is believing. Now, let me ask a rhetorical question. Does it always apply that seeing is believing? No. No,
Mm-hmm.
because when you want to start something new, when you want to do something for the very first time, and you don't know how to do it, or you don't know how to do it perfectly or well, you've never seen it. But you believe that is going to work. And you continue advancing and moving in that direction, not because you are relying on your seeing, but you're relying on the faith that you have that whatever that is going to work. And that's what happens, I mean, with those sailors, I mean, back in those days. I mean, they were not uh, believing because they were seeing things. They had faith that the trip, the trek, the journey, it was going to pay dividends for them, even if they did not see it up until that moment with their eyes, but they could see it in their minds. And what a powerful thing that was.
And so we go from the age of exploration into the age of religious persecution, and how people who had no sailing skills got on boats. And if you saw what I mean, there's a boat here down the other end of the island, a replica of one that was used, and it's like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't even get on that thing to sail around the island. and yet families were on this boat.
Yeah.
And they had to go with faith that seeing is believing, but seeing is also knowing.
That's
that
right.
that they would indeed get to the other side. And sometimes they did not. Or as is in the case here, they were on their way and the weather started getting rough and the tiny ship was tossed and they were shipwrecked here. And that's how the original settlers settled here.
That's right. Yeah.
But because there was a dream, the rest of them rebuilt the boat and carried on, because if they stayed on the boat, they would ensure that they got to the other side. And that's how the settlers actually ended up on the east coast of the United States. So one group of settlers leaving got shipwrecked here. Some stayed here. The rest carried on. And I equate that because too often we, as I say, we take things for granted. But sometimes we end up on the Titanic of life. we think that nothing will ever happen, and
there will not be an iceberg waiting for us.
There will not be an iceberg, and that's a topic for another day. But where I'm going with this, as you mentioned, we're in a situation today where people are fearing and they're not sure, what boat am I getting on? Okay, oh, there's one going by. Let me jump on that boat. Oh, there's another. And they end up going nowhere because they're not putting their faith into that captain that's standing on the bridge, exuding that confidence that there is going to be a tomorrow. The sun will come out tomorrow. That's classic from a movie. That's why it's always beautiful and sunny in Bermuda. I don't care what's going on outside the window. In my head, it's always beautiful and sunny in Bermuda. And people have to have faith of what they have yet to see.
Sure. No, this is a great analogy. I mean, for people who perhaps, they come to the port and they see 2 or 3 or 4 different boats, and they start thinking their minds, well, on which one am I going to get on? Is A, B, C, or D? Which one? And they don't make a decision, and they're just standing there and contemplating, and time passes and time passes and time passes, and they're still standing there still. And what I say is, there is no, because they are there just to find out which is the best boat to get in. But the answer to that is very simple. Get on a boat and start the journey. Because if you're standing on the harbor and you don't make the decision to get on any boat, then at the end of a week, you are in the same place. At the end of a month, you are in the same place. At the end of a year, 5 years, you're still there. Now, if you got on any boat, at least you are moving toward a destination. Now, if you need to make changes, you can. But you make those changes while you're navigating, while you're moving. So don't, the analogy of and stay on the ship, because there are many people who say, okay, I'm just going to give it a try. I'm going to stay on the ship for 2 days. If it doesn't work the way that I thought, I'm just going to jump off. No, stay, because you don't know what's going to happen. Just give your own journey some time and time enough to develop.
And you mentioned something very important that has to be brought out, because a ship without a rudder and or a ship without a steering wheel just causes you to float with the tide, and you're putting your faith that you're going to get somewhere, but is where there, or will there be where? Except for those who chose to stay behind and go nowhere.
That's exactly right. So I think that whatever you are planning on doing, whatever ideas you have, begin. You don't have to make a very huge step to begin your journey. Just take a small step. But it's better to make a small step in any direction than no step and going nowhere, as you just said. So I think that this is a good thing to begin, and you can begin at any time. It doesn't matter. I mean, this is not a matter of age. It's not a matter of where you live in the world. It's not a matter of location, age, or no. You can begin right where you are. A journey can be started anywhere, but you have to make the first step and just going.
There's a lot of learning that takes place along the way. And I'm so excited. I didn't think you had noticed, but yesterday, for the first time, the barbershops reopened. And I was able to get an appointment, because it's appointment only. And so finally but you know what? When we're talking about if you stay on the boat or stay on the ship, we will get you there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a word we need to throw into this conversation, which is commitment.
Oh, yes.
Commitment is twofold in this case. Commitment on your part for staying on the boat, but commitment on the part of those who we've chosen to lead us, to ensure that the two commitments are in alignment.
That's exactly right. And I think that accompanying that word commitment, which is incredibly important, I think that there is a secondary word which when there is a commitment, there has to be this other word, which, by the way, begins with the same letter C. I mean, so the two C's of importance in this journey: commitment, but then, so it prevents anybody, when they are already on the boat, prevent them from jumping out of the boat and giving up, is consistency. Don't just get on the boat and stay there for an hour, expecting to see revolutionary results. You have to be consistent. You have to commit yourself to the journey, and you have to commit yourself to the captain, the leader who is going to take you to the other side. But then just exercise patience and consistency. Because if you give up the following day, then you will not, definitely you will not get to the other side. So just consistency in the way that you do things.
So while you were talking about that, because clearly we do not rehearse these calls, we're unplugged.
Oh, yes.
And we mentioned commitment and consistency. I have another C word that suddenly came to mind, because with commitment and consistency, you will help avoid or eradicate chaos.
That's right. That's right. I think that once you are committed to a dream, once you're committed to a goal, once you're committed to following a pathway, then you need the consistency to do it day after day after day.
Mm-hmm.
And with those two C's are in place, then guess what? That would prevent you from immersing yourself into chaos, because that commitment and that consistency will provide a degree of certainty, which is the opposite of chaos. I mean, when you have chaos, everything is uncertain. I mean, you don't know what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right. I mean, everything is chaotic. But with commitment and consistency, you bring everything, and you diminish the amount of chaos that was there originally.
And always out of chaos comes order.
That's right.
And there will be days that you are out at sea in whatever it is that you're doing, and you will not have sight of land. You will be yearning for sight of land. You will be craving, oh my gosh, do I turn around? Do I turn around? But remember, at a certain point, you go past the point of no return. Now, those people who are into Phantom of the Opera, they're immediately starting to sing past the point of no return. The point is that in today's society, we can now know where the point of no return is, because we have mapped the world. We've got all those satellites up there in space, and we can tell when we are past that point of no return. But back in those days, there was no point of no return.
That's right.
You either quit right away, or you were committed to follow that consistency to get to the other side.
Yeah. And when you have that commitment, and when you have that commitment to a leader that is going, or a captain in this case, that is going eventually to take you to the other side, it doesn't necessarily, and I think that this point is very important, it doesn't mean necessarily that that captain or that leader will be infallible and will not make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are all human. And no matter whether you are a leader and a good leader, an excellent leader, you're going to be making a mistake. But that commitment is in the person, knowing that the person has the integrity, even in the midst of mistakes, to perhaps acknowledge those mistakes, make the corrections that need to be made, and keep going to the destination that he or she wants to go. So don't think that because you are committing to the leadership of someone else, that everything is going to be hanky-dory and peachy cream and everything is just going to be, no, 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 no. There are going to be storms along the way. And perhaps that captain is going to make the wrong turn or taking the wrong direction temporarily, or making a mistake or whatever it may be. But just stay committed. If you know the person that you're following, stay committed, because that person eventually is going to take you to the other side. But there are going to be obstacles, mistakes, failures along that journey.
So I see shore ahead of me, and I'm very excited about that because I will be able to disembark and actually go and get a shave, because I've been at sea for too many days now. But as we're winding down here, I am flat out excited. I know you're flat out excited because iTunes has finally approved. Not that it's finally because it takes them a few days just to get around to approving, but iTunes has finally approved Alejandro and Bob Unplugged, the podcast.
Yes.
And we will be publishing at least once a week, if not more and more podcasts. And these sessions that you're experiencing with us today, you can get a hold of them in many different ways. The podcast by the same title. Of course, you have to go to iTunes and you go to podcasts. You'll type in the search bar Alejandro and Bob Unplugged.
That's
and
right.
You'll see it, and go ahead and click on it and subscribe to it so that you can actually either listen to it then, or you can download it and take us with you to remind you of staying on the boat, because we will get you there.
Definitely.
I believe that you publish these videos on your Facebook page. I publish these videos to my YouTube channel.
That's right.
And
there is,
anyways.
Yes, on if you go to Bob's YouTube channel, you're going to see, because I was there yesterday, you would see a playlist that is Alejandro and Bob Unplugged, and the episodes are going to be there, not just the audio, but the the video recordings, of the episode. So you can go to YouTube, you can go to his page, my page. You can go to Apple Podcast and subscribe. And by the way, if you are taking the effort in order to go to Apple Podcast and subscribe, just listen to it and leave a review and a rating. And you know why I emphasize, and I keep emphasizing, leave a review, is not because it puffs up our egos. There's nothing to do with ego here. Well, perhaps Bob's ego, but yes, my ego is very low. So it would not affect my ego. But the reason that I emphasize the reviews is because by reviewing and doing a rating on the show, it elevates the exposure of the show. And once you share it and other people can read some of the reviews, they said, okay, well, this is a podcast that is worth subscribing and is worth listening to. And definitely it is. So that's why leave a review and subscribe to it. And just before we go, anything else that we forgot to mention? Well, one of the things is very soon we are working. Towards the last details. There's going to be a program that we, Bob and myself, we are working and putting together, and I tell you, it's just going to be a complete success, because it will definitely resonate with you, and the teaching is going to be spectacular. If you want to keep growing and keep getting better, moving in the direction of becoming your very best self, that program is going to be
Getting to the other side.
that's right. If you want to get to the other side, I mean, that is a tool and a resource that you can use to get you there. Anything else, Bob?
No, I gotta go plug some holes in my boat.
Okay, well, thank you so very much. It's been great. Happy Friday. Enjoy the weekend. And I think Monday is Memorial Day. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I do want to extend a happy Memorial Day weekend. It's a little funky to say happy Memorial Day, but because the thing is that too many people think that we should be out there thanking veterans, and of course we should be. But this weekend is dedicated to those who gave it all and didn't come back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the way that we can enjoy, I mean, that freedom and the place that we live is because of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, so thank you all, and as I always remind you, live every moment, grab every moment, and live it to the fullest. Be resilient, and also be kind, be passionate, be intentional, and be well. Thank you very much. Until we meet again, take care, Bob. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, everybody.